Supposed to do a live stream. Nope, that's not what happened. Mm. Well, that's annoying. I don't care. If that's what it's named, why did it push out to Discord incorrectly? Very annoying. Let's see if this is working. Hey, it looks like it's working. See if this is working. It is working. Nice. Okay. Let's get to work. What am I going to work on? Yeah. Bad name. Ooh. That doesn't look right. Shot to the heart. And you're to blame. You give love a bad name.
Two, one, snap. I'm wondering if you should do the Welcome podcast, a conversation about the journey through life.
I've heard it 1,000 times.
All right, I'll do it.
You give love.
So, listeners, and then maybe we'll get into. And let's keep living the way of the heart.
Weird catch. almost forgot. Promo. Come on.
So, listeners, I Terry friends. Yes.
Well, that's confusing. Okay. What's this episode called? Yeshua Retreat. Do some denoising.
Yeah. Aspects of his reality, maybe how we've even learned Jesus wrong, how the is a guy's ability to internalize and personalize.
I'm going to be first to sit down, last to leave, and just soak up every single.
Mud removal.
What you do in love will never fail because love never fails.
Love never fails you.
When we were talking about your role, and you said to me, the only bit of feedback I would give you, Jake, is do not let that slide.
All of those things, and you've seen it, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with living by principle and, you know, forming good habits and all that. Another one, because that's going to get my Character through habits and discipline that
you were the one who reminded me and pushed me to not and
Can't hear the white noise when there's white noise in the room. Okay, it's gone. All right. I'll be back. Oh.
tax receipt. Thank you so much for your support. Welcome to the Way of the Heart podcast, a conversation about the journey through life with a heart that's fully alive. I am Jake Kim. My voice sounds weird. Live. Fully alive. I am Jake Kim.
What's up, Andy? Oh, dude, I meant to...
About the journey through life with a heart that's fully alive. I am Jake Kim.
I meant to tag you in something yesterday. I need to post today. My daughter did... she colored in like a comics of Spider-Man into Spider-Verse, and I thought of you, so I'll post that later today.
Fully alive. I am Jake Kim. My voice sounds weird. I'm a bit under the weather, but I'm back as always with my good friend, Brett Powell. Brett, good to see you.
Good to see you, Jake.
How are you?
We were attacked.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Yeah. My, we just got back from,
Good to see you.
We just got,
Good to see you.
we just got back from our annual men's retreat, and I lost my voice as part of a sickness that was going on before, and I feel fine, but my voice is not fine. So listeners, thanks for your patience. But we wanted to go in and reflect on
She drew all the characters. Like she took it from, I think it was like a poster for the movie, and she drew all the characters and then colored them in last night. It's pretty neat.
Thanks for your patience. But we wanted to go in. But we wanted to go in and reflect on and talk about and break down the retreat. And what I love about this is, Brett, you and I we haven't talked about it. It literally ended 2 days ago. So this is a very real time. Days ago.
Yeah.
So this is a very real time breaking down of the retreat. And the topic was Yeshua, Jesus. And so what I love is that the retreat is going to springboard us into a conversation, obviously, about Jesus and men's ministry, et cetera. So I'm just excited to see where this goes.
Why did it jump to there? Weird.
Et cetera. So I'm just excited to see where this goes, and et cetera. So I'm just excited to see where this goes, and it is very real and very live because we have not talked about the event.
Yeah, the retreat ended like 16 hours ago. Feels like
that. Yeah, that's true. We have had 1 day since we got back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
humble thyself in the sight of the Lord.
got back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the theme was Yeshua, and to give just an overall kind of, I think, idea, we were trying to talk about Jesus is real. And then we were trying to talk about various aspects of his reality, maybe how we've even learned Jesus wrong, how there's an invitation to his easy yoke, how worship of him leads to work being different and the consecration of time. We just decided to zoom in on that. And then we talked about resurrection and the discipleship. So those are some of the main themes of the retreat. But overall, what's coming, as you walk away, what's going on for you? Where's your heart at? And then maybe we'll get into more of the topics that struck us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, overall, just incredibly blessed. For me personally, I think I'm taking more from this retreat than any retreat I've had.
Wow.
It
had
was
like ever, or the men's retreat? Had like ever, or the men's retreat?
Well, the men's retreat.
Okay, yeah, I was about to say.
It would be difficult to compare with others because a silent retreat is just fundamentally totally different experience than the men's retreat. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I wasn't speaking, to be honest, because it created a space to just be. And so I just said, I'm going to fully enter in. I'm going to sit up front. I'm going to be first to sit down, last to leave, and just soak up every single gift and grace that the Lord was willing to give. So, just a real sponge. It was kind of humbling as well. It was kind of humbling as well. Like, as you said, Jake, we haven't even processed that. As you as you said, Jake, we haven't even processed this together. as you said, Jake, we haven't even processed this together at all. Like, and we had like 22 seconds together, I think, on retreat.
Oh no.
A somewhat shared mealtime. That was it. A somewhat.
Oh no.
A somewhat shared mealtime. That was it. But even on the front end, somebody, I was talking to somebody that I knew. Front end, I was talking to somebody that I knew, and he was with somebody I didn't know, and then the guy I knew walked away, so it was just the two of us, and the guy looked at me and said, "Is this your first retreat?"
How are you?
And I was like, well, that's a different experience.
Yeah.
But it was great because I
am proved.
And it was just a moment of grace. It's like, yep, no, I've been here every time. It's awesome. You're really going to enjoy this, and all cool. That. So just being able to not be preoccupied with slides and videos that work and just all the rest of it, right, was just such a grace and a gift.
That was my hope. That's why I asked you to not speak, because I wanted you to be able to, I felt like God was asking you to receive. So I'm grateful that you dove into that. I just wanted to say, and I want to say this publicly, is your character and that dynamic was so much of who I know you to be. And I just could imagine all the layers that would go on in the heart and how the enemy would try to pounce on that kind of dynamic. And I was, it reaffirmed, and I was, watch
this.
And it reaffirmed.
Let's see if we can use a different one.
And it
just get rid of the and.
It reaffirmed dynamic. It reaffirmed on that kind of dynamic. It reaffirmed who I know you to be.
Sounds like a Wednesday.
And I think blessed our and I think blessed our friendship. It did for me, I'll say. My trust in you was notably higher, which what came out on the weekend is trust as an ongoing struggle for me. So I was just an awe for me. So I was just in awe of how I was just in awe of how you navigated that with grace and character and humility. So that was moving for me. It was one of my that was moving.
It's the first time I've ever done it. So you're here for the first one. I've been trying to think of new things to do, and I'm like, look, this is what I'm doing most days anyway. Let's see if this will work.
Grace and character and humility. So that was moving for me. It was one of my that was moving for me. It was one of my highlights. For me. It was one of my highlights. Moving for me. It was one of my
I stopped streaming, like, period, because my setup for gaming and streaming just wasn't working. So I gave it up, and I was looking for new things to do, and I was like, hey, I edit all the time, and I can do all of this, like I'm streaming and editing on this computer. So I was mostly this is just a test to see if it's working, and it seems like it's working. I don't know.
Lights.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Oh wow. Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It was. It turned out to be. Yeah. It was. It turned out to. It turned out. It turned. Yeah. It turned out to be.
Pushing so many wrong buttons.
Oh wow. It turned out to be an incredible gift because, like I said, it just created this space
Yay!
within me.
Tested it out beforehand, so I think it's working. And it's like a lot of streaming. It just took so much setup for me, like just how my room's set up. Like my TV's way over there and gaming stuff, and it wasn't working right. And got a new computer. Everything changed from where I was streaming before, and so it's just easy because I can just sit here. It's a couple extra buttons to stream, so why not?
And space within me, and where do I take that empty and where do I take that emptiness that was not because I wasn't occupied with all this other stuff? And even when you're speaking at these things, and I see this wherever I go, if I'm speaking at this, that, and the other thing, you're on in a different way.
Yep.
You know, and there's even a part of you that is not, it's almost like you're not that you're not wanting to, but you're just not able to enter into it in the same way that you are if you're just a dude.
You can't.
And so it was, in that way it was, and what it allowed is all the things that
easy peasy, beautiful cover girl. That's what they call me.
The Lord spoke to me. I naturally was able to receive them at a deeper level, I guess is what it is.
For sure.
I'm also trying multi-streaming for not the first time, but the first time in years. So it's on YouTube and Twitch. So that seems to be working too, because I've gotten comments from one of each.
For sure. But you did help out. Like, sure. But you did help out. You did help. You did help out. But you did help out.
Oh, that's so clean. Those are my favorite kind of edits.
For sure. But you did help out. Like you were part of the ministry.
Yeah.
And that was a huge part.
Yeah.
And that was a
Yeah.
And that was a huge part.
Yeah.
And that was a huge part. So, I mean, I guess you weren't up front in the same way, but you were very much a part of the team still.
Yeah.
What kind of work?
And praying.
What kind of work do you do?
With guys was, I can't tell you. Yeah. And praying with guys was, I can't tell you the, yeah.
And ministering to guys, praying with guys.
Yeah. And praying with guys was, I can't tell you the privilege, Jake. It was amazing. Like it was amazing. Jake, it was amazing.
It's way above my pay grade. For design engineer, automotive supplier, design automatic transmission shift levers. I don't know what that is, which means you make good money. Good for you.
It was amazing. Like I privilege, Jake. It was Jake. It was amazing. like I did the prayer ministry. Like I did the prayer. Like I did the prayer ministry. I did the amazing. I did the.
So, okay. I knew that. Let's see. Did I know that much? I knew that there's a lever involved because I've driven stick shift one time. It was in college after a girl broke up with me, and I was mad. So my friend decided that was a good time to teach me how to drive stick. So I just drive around San Antonio yelling. It's pretty great. But I didn't know what these. I know automatic is fine. Design engineer. When you said design engineer, I assumed it was like animation or something. But design of cars, I get that. I helped design automatic shift levers. So I didn't. The levers is the part I didn't know, because I drive an automatic car, and I know that it has transmission. We've had a transmission die, so I knew that part, but I didn't know that there were levers involved. So I learned something new today.
Tell you the privilege, Jake. It was amazing. I did the prayer ministry because there was some logistical nightmares with people getting their safe environment approval. So because mine was already approved, Eric just asked me.
Yes.
Wasn't even going to ask. I didn't say yes to that until I think it was 2 days before the retreat started.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden I was like, sure, you're in a bind. I can do that. But it was like, again, I don't want this to be about me, but I'm thinking that the difference between, being able to speak, and I still love being able to speak, and I still love speaking because I believe in the prophetic word and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But to see up close.
The irony here is that it's the old style. And when you say rotary, I think like rotary phone. So it's fun that the new style is using old technology from a different technology. Why is it? I keep hitting save when I'm on this. I'm just trying to save this. I'm just so used to hitting Command S while I'm editing.
I believe in the prophetic word and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But to see up close how words were being received and the wrestle and the clash of the kingdoms over men's hearts, and to be able to accompany them in those moments and hear truth and speak truth and pray and just do battle like right beside your brother.
Yes.
Was just amazing.
Yes.
Was just amazing.
Can you speak more?
Amazing.
Can you speak more to that? Because I haven't heard that, and we need to keep all those in confidence. But you can speak to themes, and particularly the clash of the kingdoms. And I'll set you up by saying this. I think at these kinds of events, so if we dive into men's ministry for a second, the critical component of the event is a guy's ability to internalize and personalize the overall message. And that is very hard to do because of the guys come in with hearts that have history. And it is sometimes very hard to see what you can't see.
Yeah.
And then if somebody points it out,
a car? Weird. Maybe a car in the background.
And it is sometimes
like 20 to 25. They're not all active all the time. Some of them are seasonal, but about 20 to 25. That's me, and I have another editor that works with me.
And it is sometimes very hard to see.
So I like oversee some, and then I directly edit some, like some of the bigger ones like this one.
What you can't see.
Yeah.
And then if somebody points it out up front, you're like, that kind of resonates, but I don't know how to personalize, internalize it. So I imagine that's what was going on. And to do that, to me, is like powerful stuff. So
yeah, it's like quietly become the biggest thing that we do. Like it's the biggest part of our work. It's like what I do day in and day out. talk about it every now and then, but that's one of the other reasons that I wanted to like live streams. Like, this is what we do. Like, this is a huge part of our work that I think is, it's going on in the background, because it's like, typically, I've never live streamed it before, so it's like, typically it's just me and my other editor sitting at our computers, chopping away. So,
does that resonate?
That's exactly it. Yeah, it's that moment where the prophetic word comes out. And of course, the enemy sees what's happening, sees the movement of grace and all the rest of it, and just wants to get in there. Wow. And even, working, it was Eric Chow and I that were praying together, and that was just a real honor.
Yeah,
I've known Eric since he was a young man.
Yeah.
And just being able to be together in that way, and it was just a real privilege and an honor. But that's exactly what it comes down to is, there is powerful words that are spoken, and people are having obvious interactions with the truth of what's being said. But man, the enemy just wants to take it away, just wants to steal it.
How did you see?
From the heart?
How was he doing that to make it practical? What did you? How did you
steal it from the heart?
How was he?
Just steal it from the heart.
How was he doing that to make it practical? What did you see?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So
what did you see?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So here.
What did you see?
Yeah, for sure. So here's an example.
Time to order some DoorDash.
See.
Yeah, for sure. So here's an example. When you hear the prophetic words, when you hear the prophetic word spoken as it was, or even just witnessing guys like you and Pete and the presence you have in the room, actually, there is
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. We got like a little three-pronged approach here, with speaking and doing music for events, and then editing, and then our own podcast and content and stuff. And we're always doing all three of them, but like over the years, speaking took a leap, and then now that's down, and this is going up, and some years the show's doing better, some years it's not. So it's nice to have a little tripod. Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like I'm really good, or of those three things, I'm better at promoting the show. It's just an easier thing to promote. But podcast editing is so behind the scenes, and the speaking, I'm just doing it less. So yeah, people forget. I totally get it, especially with music, just because like I don't sing on the show, So I've been focusing a lot the last few weeks of like trying to within those three things, like diversify my time, because I think I've spent so much time publicly on the show and then privately editing. So we'll see. What do I want to eat? I want probably just Chick-fil-A. Is that what I want? What do we want? A girl worth fighting for. Do I want Chick-fil-A? Maybe I don't. I think I want a pizza. Pizza. Where's my Blaze Pizza order? There it is. Does it have it saved? Yep. There's all my toppings I like. Pizza. Almost ordered. Ooh. I want a soda. Add more items. ¿Dónde está el soda? There it is. Ooh. I said that, then Mexican Coke popped up. I'm going to get a Mexican Coke. There we go. All right. Lunch is ordered. Yeah, it's funny. I almost ordered Chick-fil-A, but my order at Chick-fil-A these days is the honey pimento chicken sandwich, and it's just so messy. Like, I couldn't do that while editing, but I can take a bite of pizza and keep working. So, bro, this is killing me. The Command S is such a, constantly saving while doing editing work is just so ingrained in me that I keep doing it when I'm on this screen. It's very funny.
You have in the room.
Old habits.
There is naturally this gap that I feel in my own heart. Okay. I'm not that.
Got it.
So guys.
Wait. How did you get a pizza on a deserted island? That just clicked for me.
Will come up and they'll be burdened with wanting to be a better man or.
Just imagining that you're lost. You got your volleyball Wilson and you're lost. And DoorDash shows up, drops off the pizza, but doesn't bring you home. It's hilarious.
A better father or whatever the case may be. Yeah. And it's like they interpret that gap and wanting to be prayed with as so easily they can interpret it as failure. And all I see and want to reflect to you is the fact that you're praying about this puts you in the 1% category.
Amen.
Like,
Amen.
Don't forget that. You're praying that you have good relationships with your kids. You're praying that you would sacrificially love your spouse because you know that you're not as much as you could. But the fact that you're engaging.
Golden Stan, thanks for following.
Proves to me that you're the kind of man that God wants to bless.
Yeah.
Right.
Amen.
But it's just that small interpretation. If you don't come up for prayer, you could really be at the mercy of wrong interpretations that take you down roads and conclusions that are condemning. And
so in this chat thing, I can see the chats, but I didn't see that those two people followed. I just saw that just now. So thank you guys. Appreciate you.
And just not what the Lord wants.
Wow. That principle seems so stinking important.
I think that's my problem. Is I keep eating this pizza and it's shortening my life. I understand the premise, Fruit, but I don't think it was food. Like food, I always hear with what's your last meal gonna be, But Desert Island, while I'm ordering DoorDash, it was just genuinely funny to me. I appreciate the pizza order too. For me, it'd probably be pizza or enchiladas, quesadillas, something Mexican, or Chick-fil-A. Those are my top three. So you said three books. I don't read books. I eat food.
Important to any moment of grace. On a retreat, off a retreat, a daily prayer time, you're driving down the road and you see a beautiful sunset and you feel like God's moving. The enemy's always trying to.
So you live on the Fortnite Island and the DoorDash guys come with guns.
Assault consolation or the movement of the heart. I mean, it's discernment of spirits. And that is that.
Yeah.
Discernment of spirits.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is.
Where you make them feel.
Yeah. That is. Yeah, that was really powerful. And honestly, to your credit, you were the one who reminded me and pushed me to not forget the importance of that role in the retreat weekend. And I remember when we were talking about your role, and you said and you said to me, the only bit of feedback I would give you, Jake, is do not let that slide. Don't let that.
I forgot about that conversation, to be honest.
It was essential. That was a critical part of the. It was essential. That was a critical part of the conversation. So my point is, the conversation. So my point is conversation. So my point is,
I should change that, huh? Hey, Andy, thanks for being here, man. Hope you enjoyed. I'm guessing your lunch break. Have fun. Fortnite label. That's funny. Yeah, I had some problem with yeah, I guess Restream didn't change the game. I could probably do it now. How do I do this? Edit stream info? Yeah, there we go. I mean, what do I say? Just chatting? Work? I don't know what the I don't think this is a thing, right? I think I'll just say just chatting. I mean, I haven't streamed in so long. This is... There we go. I changed it. Thank you. Yeah, I got you. Thanks. I guess now I know. Yeah, it sent out a weird thing on my Discord too, with like old stuff, even though I changed it on Restream, but I did not change the game on Restream. The comments I get on YouTube. Somebody just commented on a video I posted. It said, "This guy licks windows on the bus." No, thank you. Goodbye. Hidden from channel. No one will ever know about it except for you. Oh no, what is this person? Oh no, go away. How do I make them go away? No. There we go. Got it. And they're gone.
Conversation. So my point is, you fought for...
So, just so you know what goes on in my head, I always think of like the meanest thing I could say. I don't even know how I should say it, but I guess I'll say it. Something licking girlfriend, mob, whatever. That's what went through my head, but it says Catholic on my handle, so I can't say that. So I just block them.
The conversation. So my point is,
the last time I was on a school bus, well, I guess that's not true, but when I think of school bus, I think of being in high school, and High School Taylor comes out.
You fought for the very thing that was life-giving and that you ended up doing. I think that's pretty cool. But power of interpretation and not realizing, because guys we do it all the time. We miss what the enemy's up to, and then we can't, and then we stay stuck.
One of the
yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm not always that wise.
One of the things,
I almost did it, but guess I'll be a good person today.
Yeah. And then we stay stuck.
One of the things,
That's so weird. There's a sound that doesn't have a...
Stay stuck.
One of the things,
it's weird when a sound doesn't have a waveform.
One of the things that I felt led to do, I mean, there's, when you're in that context, words of knowledge will come out that are just powerful. And of course, when you're feeling compelled to say something and it doesn't make any frigging sense to you at all,
yes.
There's a battle there. Like, do I say this? And it's like, step out in humility and just say, hey, this is what I see. This is what I think. Does that mean anything? Is there? And then it's like, oh my gosh. There's those graces that are just so, like, it's like you're cooperating. You're cooperating with the Lord of the universe, who knows this guy's history and story and is writing it in. And for a brief moment in time, it's like you share the pen.
I already had coffee. It is not working.
My gosh, that is an amazing privilege.
Yes.
Yes. Wow. So yeah, there was just so many, I don't know, so many graces like that. And even,
can you speak to that a little bit?
So many graces like that. And even,
can you speak to
like that? And even,
can you speak to that a little bit more of responding to the Lord and the risk, because that's.
So I was a new coffee drinker like a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. I don't think I've ever done 2 cups in a day. I'll see how I feel after I eat. I also haven't eaten like a meal today, so that might be part of it. I had bagel when I woke up, but we'll see. I might try it. You might be the reason I'm a first-time 2 coffee drinker.
Risky when you're in the moment, and guys experience this all the time, where they might feel drawn to say something that they feel might be of God. Or let's even soften that a little bit. They feel the movement in their heart.
I just drank all of this. Well, not all of it. Now I'm drinking all of it.
To apologize to a family member.
Oh, and I have the Mexican Coke coming. I forgot about that. That's some caffeine.
Or to affirm a family member. And it's a little bit vulnerable and a little bit risky, but something in them moves them to say to their kid, I just really love you. I'm proud of you.
That's sweet.
Just really love you. Just really love you. I'm proud of you. And most men know the halt, the like, I don't know if I want to go there. And so it's the same dynamic, I think, that you're describing.
Yeah.
Can you talk through that a bit about what goes on and why you chose to be faithful?
I guess the risk is you don't know. The risk is the same for most men in those situations. You don't want to look like an idiot. You don't want to look like a failure. You don't want to miss the mark, you know? And so even in terms of prayer ministry, that can be triggered within me. One of the graces for me this whole weekend, one of the graces for me this whole weekend was the grace of reminders. The Lord reminded me the Lord grace of reminders. The Lord reminded me of so many things that he had imprinted in my heart as a young man. That in my weakness and young man, that in my weakness and amnesia have forgotten, but he hasn't. And so one of them, many things we will try will fail. But what you do in love will never fail because love never fails. So get over yourself and just say what you think is being on your heart, because your motivation is to love your brother. I think that's worth the risk when you're dealing with these heart level things. So, there was things that we saw. So, there was things that we saw the Lord do. They're powerful. I can't get into too many of the details because they might reveal, but I literally felt physically strongholds leaving men's hearts and lives.
Amen.
Physically, you could feel the release.
Wow. Okay, so
So that's why
this podcast.
I mean by
it's so good. I love this podcast.
Cooperating, like you just make yourself available. This is all God's work. We're just cooperating, just trying to be in step, and all that. But like on a whole nother level, he is just working.
Okay, I want to come back to that.
Just working.
Okay, I want to come back to that
powerfully.
In a second. Brett, what's going on?
powerfully.
Second. Brett, what's going on?
No, this is called Way of the Heart, Canadian men's podcast.
Powerfully.
Second.
It's the brother podcast of Abiding Together, a real popular women's podcast, Catholic women's podcast.
I want to come back
So
to that
powerfully.
in a second. Brett, what's going on? I think we have to. Can you break down what's happening for you?
Well, it's
for you.
It's a good one. It's my favorite, like, podcast for Catholic men. It's one of those ones that, like, I get stuff out of it even while I'm editing, which, like, usually when you're editing, it's like you're working, you know. But like this is special. This is awesome.
Can you break down what's happening for you?
Well, it's like, there were so many powerful things.
I haven't heard of that one. I wonder if they knew of this one, because, like, having a men's podcast. Well, I don't know if it's a men's podcast, but priests are men. You know, I wonder if they were like, "Hey, let's do the American version of Way of the Heart."
Well, it's like there were so many powerful things that were
Men of the Hearts. I haven't heard of that. Real men of the hearts. Vocations. Oh, vocation store. That's cool. They're using it for a vocations thing. That's great.
It's like
Petoni raid. Hello, 8 viewers. Peter, it's lovely that you're here, because I'm not going to give you all the credit for this. I've been wanting to stream editing for a long time, and I just haven't done it. And then watching you just do work stuff yesterday inspired me to do it today. So, Peter, you're here. Does this game have any pictures? Yeah, me. Am I good graphics? Thanks for being here, guys. Thanks for the raid. Peter, I want you to feel good about yourself. This is P. Deer. I want you to feel good about yourself. This is largely because of you.
Are you?
Well, it's like there were so many powerful things that were said and experienced. Like, one of them was
Mathefix. God bless me, and thanks for following. Thanks, Peter. It's great to see you.
You know, this idea of, you know, the easy yoke that you.
I don't know why I haven't done this before. I was explaining that to Pruitt earlier. I just thank you. I do this all day, and it's like I can stream on this computer while I'm editing on this computer. Like, I don't know why I haven't done this before. I'm trying to break out of a funk, and recording next week's of the Forte Catholic podcast. I talked with Allison yesterday. We recorded it yesterday, and she's like, "Hey, you should try new things." And I'm like, "New things within the things you're already doing." So here I am doing new things within the things I'm already doing. Thank you. Yeah, I because of that, I decided to work on my non-hourly clients so that I could bill people correctly. So that's good, Peter. I'm glad you're breaking out of it. I think yesterday was helpful. Like, talking things out with Allison was really good.
Like, one of them was, you know, this idea of, you know, the easy yoke that you spoke about. And I mean, it's the Lord uses these things.
This is this is due next week. No rush on getting this one done. Allison's awesome. I love her to death. We had a really good conversation at her house, me, her, and her husband on Friday. And then yesterday before the show, and then recording the show. So she's the best.
And then he just takes you on this rabbit trail, this beautiful rabbit trail. So I was struck by, I think it was during that talk, maybe it wasn't, but the whole rich young ruler.
Yes.
And
I give a talk on the rich young ruler. Let's see what they say.
Just prayer.
It's called Way of the Heart. It's a Catholic men's podcast. You should listen to it. It's really good. Like, it's genuinely one of my favorite podcasts.
And just prayerfully, like, what is that thing that is holding me back.
That's the talk I give. Yay!
You know, Jesus pressed into his heart, and for him, it was money. You know, I'm at a place now, Jake, where I don't have like massive addiction issues and all that. Like, I just don't.
Yeah.
Great editor. Beautiful editor.
I just don't.
Yeah.
What I have done, though, is that I have placed so much emphasis.
Peter, what were you doing on stream? Were you working again, or were you playing a video game?
On developing and strengthening my character through habits.
Mic volume's a little lower than the editing work, by the way. Okay, I can fix that. Do I fix it in here? Nope, I gotta fix it on the monitor. Thank you. There we go. I turned it up, so we'll see how that goes. And I was also talking quietly and away from the mic. We'll see if this is better. Oh no, I hit save on the thing again.
And discipline.
Yes.
That I've left myself half-hearted.
Hey!
Like I have placed such I have placed such a premium in developing all of those things.
So edits like that, like typically I would stream, Fortnite or whatever, and the stream would go crazy whenever you get a headshot or something or win a game. That's the headshot. I did it, guys. It's not as exciting, I don't think. But
living by principle and forming good habits and all that kind of stuff. But I have left my stuff. But all that kind of stuff.
Hype.
Stuff. But
thank you. I feel appreciated.
Stuff. Bits and all that kind of stuff. But I have left my first love in many ways.
What do you mean? Do you mean that it's become more about the virtue than the person of Jesus?
And as a result, you can.
Bro, that is such a good point.
Coast. Like my spiritual life was
do you mean that it's become more about the virtue than the person of Jesus?
Boom.
And as a result, you can coast. Like my spiritual life was almost in a certain sense falling victim to the years.
Slay the Spire is one of those games that you're required to die. What are they called? Something light, roguelite, where you just keep going and then you die. I don't like those kind of games. I did enjoy watching code yesterday. I know nothing about that. I just know this. Roguelike? Yeah, rogue. Yeah. I never knew if it was roguelike, like it's like a rogue, or rogue light, like Lite, like it's light on being a rogue. I always hear it on my gaming podcasts, and since I don't really like that style of game, I never cared to learn if it was like or light.
Falling victim to the
only one I liked was. Because I like making progress. Like my number one thing on. Oh, see? Okay. I'm not a complete idiot. I don't know the answer, but I'm not a complete idiot. That makes me feel better. The only one I liked was the one in hell with all the Greek gods. Oh my gosh. Why am I blanking on this? I liked that because you're still. Hades, exactly. Yeah. Because you're still making progress, like you would unlock other things or whatever. A lot of those roguelikes or lights or whatever, you never made progress. Like you had to get better as the player, and it's I like games where I can get better at the game, but also my character is getting better too. So Hades was great. Just I played it on a Family Vacation on the Switch because it was first just out on the Switch. Or I guess on PC too, but it wasn't on other consoles. Now it is, but. I loved it on the Switch. It's my favorite Switch-based game I've ever played, I think.
Was almost in a certain sense falling victim.
Hades would be the one I would recommend because I'm not really a fan of the genre, but I think they perfected the genre that I loved it. Yeah, it's great.
To the years of ridiculous commitment to developing the habits of a good spiritual life.
It came on Game Pass for Xbox, and I thought about playing it, but I made so much progress in Switch that I didn't do it.
I see what you mean.
And so it's like,
that's awesome. I mean, that's an accomplishment to beat a game like that. I don't think I finished it because we got home from vacation and I got to doing other things. But no, it's an accomplishment. I got pretty far, but never beat it.
I'm the kind of guy who would want to finish a book because he started it, rather than throw it down and pick up another one because that's going to get my fires going. And yet,
dude, that's my life. This guy is speaking 100% my life.
The Lord wanted me to have a fire. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I think I had a conversation.
Yes.
So I think I had a conversation with you about how, like even in terms of my ministry and stuff, like Jesus has never left being the center of my life or anything like that. No. But yeah, it's like I had I don't know. It was a conversion. I don't know. It was a conversion. It's a conversion moment. It's a conversion moment. I have refallen moment. I have refallen moment. I have refallen in love in a way that I did in my first conversion.
Wow.
It's like, yeah, I don't know how else to say it.
Well, why I want to linger here is because I think that you're describing something that can be why I want
how else to say it.
Why I want to linger here is because I think that you're describing something that can be familiar to me, that's familiar to men if they have a thing that can be.
Brenton, thanks for the follow. Appreciate you.
That's familiar to men, describing something that's familiar to men if they have it, if it's familiar to men if they have it, if they can have it articulated for them. And I feel like that's what you're doing, which is, you were doing the right things, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in some ways, I'm hearing you say your heart.
Be right back.
Had gotten so used to the discipline that in some ways your heart was coasting with the character that you'd developed. And the point of the character development is to transform and keep the heart engaged in relationship.
Yes. Yes.
And the relationship.
Exactly it.
I love it. It brings me life. I love doing it. I love fixing things. I love doing something that a lot of people don't like to do. It's fun. It's rewarding for me.
Yes.
And the relationship kind of faded a bit. And the relationship
exactly
yeah, I've been doing it 40 hours a week for a decade, so
yes, that's exactly it.
And the relationship kind of,
maybe not every week, but I've got my 10,000 hours for sure.
Yes, that's exactly it.
And the relationship kind of
I think I get 10,000 hours a year. I think I did the math once.
Faded a bit.
Malcolm Gladwell would be so proud of me if he knew I existed.
Not like die, just it went to the secondary, to the background, and the foreground was the discipline, the virtue, the
What do you edit?
Character.
Yeah, that's a really good summary of it. So put this in other relational terms, which are maybe more accessible. So marriage.
Yes.
So it's almost like I have, developed the habit of daily interaction and date nights and annual.
Video is a lot harder and more time consuming for me, for sure. Audio, I'm usually pretty quick, but streaming.
Retreat
and ordering lunch and about to eat lunch whenever my DoorDash gets here. I'm so excited.
Away and all of those things. What I felt like
I feel like speed in editing is always the last thing that comes. Like you can be good at it, but like
things.
Speed takes a little while.
What I felt like I had lost relationally with the Lord is similar.
Okay, thanks for being here. Thanks for talking. Thanks for following all this stuff. I appreciate it. Thanks.
To doing all those things and then driving somewhere with my wife and looking at her because I'm just struck by her beauty and say, gosh, you're beautiful.
Wow. You too.
Like, that's not a habit. That's a heart impulse that cannot help itself.
Yes. That's what the virtue affords you.
Yeah.
Is the ability to deeply connect. And that's what it allows love to truly be love. Be love.
Yeah.
Because it's good and right. It's not grasping. It's free.
Yeah.
That is really powerful because I think a lot of people notice the other side. All I can do is vice, so I'm not loving. But what about, it just sounds weird. What about virtue becoming the primary and love becoming the secondary? Does this resonate at all? Because I'm hearing a scripture in my head, and I'm hearing it with the sweetest tone of the sweetest with the sweetest the sweetest tone of voice from Jesus, which is like, Brett, you've honored me, but your heart is far from me.
That's the verse I wrote down.
Right in the heart, man.
Is it?
Oh yeah. Which in the moment was not easy to receive.
No kidding.
But it was.
Writing that quote down. That's good stuff.
It's the word.
Wow.
And the beautiful thing is that my apology was immediately received and all was restored.
Yeah.
Like nothing. Like nothing. What?
Of course.
But that's like,
yeah.
Like nothing.
Of course.
But that's what it was. So it's not a stretch and don't worry about it. But that's exactly what it was. Because it was like, because when I went, again, when I was with the Lord and asking, like, what? Okay, rich young man, like, I don't have these obvious things, Lord. You know me. You know my confessions. They're kind of boring. Like,
right.
And it was like,
right.
My confessions are not boring.
Kind of boring. Like,
right.
And it was like sloth. And it wasn't sloth. Like, nobody would look at me and say lazy.
No.
But half-hearted?
Wow.
Dude, this is good.
Wow.
Yeah. And then you honor me with your lips, but your heart is far from me. Or your heart is not where it had been in the past. You know? And I don't know if he said this or not, but it's like what broke for me was he kind of, with a bit of a tongue or a tongue in his cheek, a bit of a tongue in his cheek. It's like, what did I do that would change? What did I do that would change it? Of course, he's unchanging. Like, I moved. It was me, you know. But even in that kind of just interaction that I'm having in mental prayer and whatnot, was just so much grace. Was just so much grace. Was just so much grace. Like, so much grace. And
you mean it felt like he said to you, Brett, did I do something?
And
you mean it felt like he said to you, Brett, did I do something that made you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. How
like,
sweet. Did I hurt
sweet
you in some
as
way?
Like,
did I?
Yeah.
It's so
like,
kind.
what did I do?
Oh,
what did I do?
That is
but it
so,
was so,
oh,
yeah.
That is
but it
so,
was so,
oh, that's so good.
It was the perfect.
Oh,
what did I do?
That is so, oh, that's so good.
It was the perfect. Good. It was the perfect word, right? That's the perfect word from a guy who's just very gracious and humble and 100% unconditional love. 100% unconditional love, you know.
Wow. He's modeling for you this beautiful way of relating.
Yeah. And taking the pressure off. Yeah. Yeah. And taking the pressure off of me, and it's not condemning. It's like the right tone. It's like, did I do something? Like, well, you know.
Jesus, I'll have you know.
Oh. Yeah.
Which just melts your heart all the more for him. Because it's like you're more for him. Because it's like you're so good. You're so kind. I see why they dropped nets.
My pizza's here. Can I open this without? No, I'll be back. Right, Mexican Coke and pizza, baby.
I see why they fell down and worshiped you.
Yeah.
It's not so crazy when you encounter him as he is. Worshiping him makes sense when you encounter.
I need napkins. All right, hopefully I don't start talking about gluttony while I eat this pizza.
Him as he is.
With a full voice and a full heart.
Yeah.
No. Absolutely. And there were so many graces just to seal it, like even in terms of the prayer. Absolutely. And there were so many graces. Absolutely. And there were so many graces just to seal it, like even in terms of the prayer. Because that's one thing. Prayer. Because that's one thing. Again, because usually I'm speaking at events like this and I'm not actually in the prayer ministry, and being in the prayer ministry was all this reminders. Like I can't tell you how many scriptures the Lord brought to my heart that he had burned into me in a good way, like literally 25 years ago, that I have not been recalling in my own spiritual disciplines, but it was there, like permanent, like permanent.
Wow.
Yeah. So there was just so many of those.
Wow.
Yeah. So there was just so many of those things. And I mean, his interaction with me in that way that we were just talking about with, did I do something? Even that is, just so gracious and a reminder of,
Can
I don't know, man. It's a moment of conversion. I don't know, man. It's a moment of conversion.
It is. That's why I. It is. That's why I love what you're. That's why I love. That's why I love what you're. It is. That's why I love.
Ooh, let's see if I can do this.
It is. That's why I love what you're saying, because you're.
It's a moment of conversion.
It is. That's why I love what you're saying, because you're like giving real-time accounts of how the Lord works. It's like field notes, so that others could look at it and go, really? I thought that happened to me, but you're like, so that others could look at it and go, really? I thought that happened. I thought. You're like giving real-time accounts of how the Lord works. It's like field notes, so that others could look at it and go, really? I thought that happened to me, but I dismissed it because there's no way he's that kind. And that's why I want to linger there for a second, because I could hear the devout man, the virtuous man, to use the philosophical term, the virtuous man hearing what we're saying and being.
I got Blaze Pizza, which is like you can build all your own toppings. So, what did I get today? Bacon. You can do like unlimited toppings. It's great. Barbecue sauce, ranch, bacon, peppers, pepperoni, red peppers, onion. Am I missing anything? Frank's Red Hot. So that's like the buffalo sauce. It's great. I love Blaze Pizza. It's my favorite.
Confused in the best sense, or irritated in a worse sense, because that's.
So buffalo and ranch definitely in there. So Similar.
Not theologically accurate that Jesus would say, did I do something? So therefore, that's impossible for him to say it. And the interesting thing is, Jesus can say things to bless a relationship that don't make theological sense, quote unquote, because he's showing in the very action of how he related to you, he's modeling for you the very thing that he's wanting you to do.
Yeah.
To push.
Yeah, Mod Pizza is the same thing. Mod Pizza is just a little further here in our town, but we do Mod Pizza a lot when we're traveling because there's one between like where we live and where our parents live. Blaze, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Blaze is partially owned, or a lot of them are owned by LeBron.
Thing that he's wanting you to do.
Yeah.
To push past what thing that he's wanting you to do.
Yeah.
To push past what is right into what is love. And hear me clearly. Pushing past what is right doesn't mean the right disappears. And that's what I think people
Yeah, I forget. I think he's a partial owner in the company. Like he owns, some small percentage of it, whatever. But I think he owns some stores too. Maybe it's both. He was in their commercials and stuff. So I think he is a partial owner.
It disappears. And that's what I think people think it means. Oh, well, I'm pushing beyond what is good or right. Therefore, now it's null. No, you're standing on what is good and right. And then taking one more step of radical humility. Because that's what Jesus did, which is absolutely fascinating and reveals his personality, which was
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's a part owner. Reported equity stake of $35 to $40 million. He had initially invested in 2012 when it was first starting, and now it has 340 locations in 41 states. So, oh my goodness! So it looks like he invested $1 million, and now it's 35 to 40. That's crazy. In 11 years, he's got about 10% stake. That's awesome. I hadn't heard about it in a while. I heard about it right when we got a Place Pizza, which was probably, 4 or 5 years ago. It's yummy. I can't eat tomato sauce, so the fact that they have all these different sauces as options is great for me.
Major point of the whole stinking retreat was he will blow you away with how good he is.
Yeah.
And you could miss it, that moment, by going, well, he would never say that because he doesn't make mistakes. He might say something to love you.
Yeah.
And he can very well know that you.
Yeah.
And he can very well know that he didn't make a mistake.
Yeah.
But what a kind way to approach someone. It's still good. It's still true. But I think that's...
Was your pizza from home, or did you order it somewhere?
That's what I love about the example is Jesus's heart isn't rigid. Yet he never compromises himself for what is good and true. For him to say, did I do something, doesn't mean he's saying, I messed up, I must have, it must be my fault.
Yeah.
He could be just kindly inviting you into seeing how tender he is and how humble he is.
And it's a reminder of his personality and personhood. I mean, frankly, if somebody's got a theological issue with that, then, we have to remember that Jesus Christ is a...
I don't know Jets. What is Jets? Is it a chain or a local place or what? trying to think if I've seen it when I've traveled. I did a lot of ministry in Iowa, and there was a pizza place there, but it wasn't Jets. Detroit. I was just in Detroit. What was I in Detroit for? Oh yeah, I flew to what state did I go to? I think it was Iowa. Again, different part of Iowa, but I flew into Detroit and I drove to Iowa because that was the closest airport to this little town. I'm not a huge fan of deep dish. I had like a couple of like Chicago style when I was a kid. I like thinner pizza. Like this one's pretty thin, and like if I order Domino's, we'd get like the thin crust for me. It gets regular for the kids, but I don't know. I was never a huge fan of it. Seems more like a pie, which is like like a pizza pie. I get it, but yeah. There's a 2-hour drive. So where did I go? Where was I? So I was in Defiance, Ohio. So Fort Wayne and Toledo were close. One closed their... Oh, I said Iowa? Oh, dang it. I knew when I said it, I knew I was confused. Sorry. No, Iowa, I always did stuff in Sioux City. I got it mixed up. You're right. Ohio. Yeah, I was in Ohio. We drove through Toledo. Toledo and Fort Wayne were close. One airport closed, and the other one didn't fly American or something like that. So Detroit was the closest. Yeah, I knew right when I said it that Iowa was wrong. The Texan in me gets very confused by the North. Like you saw, like even when I was like, yeah, even when I said it, I wasn't confident in it. Yeah, so Defiance, they told me what it was. Now, this may get me in trouble, but it's the name of the city. So they had like a defiance. It was some battle between the Native Americans and some country from Europe. And that's where they had their defiance or whatever. So I tried to make jokes about it while I was there, and they didn't like them. So I stayed away from it.
Person, the second person of the Blessed Trinity, that he is not a subject to be studied like chemistry or neuroscience.
Amen.
Like
they actually, the city's, was it Ford? I think it's Ford. A major car manufacturer, which we talked about that being, your job earlier. I think it was Ford, had a big factory there.
Has a personality. He took on human flesh.
Yes.
He even came, so is the point. I mean, St. Paul talks about that. He who knew no sin was made sin for us so that we might become the righteousness of God. This is the degree to which he will make himself accessible, taking on that which he does not even have the capacity to be, sinful, for the sake of us. Yes. So if he's going to momentarily come across like he might have made a mistake for my benefit, although of course he never did, that's what he's going to do.
I know. That's what's so great about him.
Yeah.
Was this Kierkegaard, I think? Was this Kierkegaard, I think? Was this Kierkegaard, I think, or somebody who talks about the king who loved the maiden, that story, and he can't come as a king because the maiden will never feel that she's worthy of him. So he comes as like a pauper because then she's even willing to entertain him and befriend him. And he's like, I'll do anything to be one with you. I mean,
and that's why those stories mean something, is because they reflect the story. Like it actually is all of our stories.
It's Michael Jordan.
All of our stories.
It's Michael Jordan letting a 5-year-old score on him. There's no question
he would never
who's better. Like he's just being kind.
Yeah.
And
Michael wouldn't do it.
I think that's a fun dynamic there that I think our spiritual lives as men and women, but can hit a point or a ceiling if we're not willing to let Jesus be himself.
Yeah.
If we have to keep him in boxes, and the real relationship with him never compromises what is true, but allows him to be fully himself. And he goes places that don't make sense to look at the mystics. Look at the incarnation. Look at the incarnation. It makes no sense. That's why everybody's like, this is ridiculous. There's no way this can be true.
Almost not my piece.
He's radically like, if you think you've got radically like, if you think you've got Jesus pegged, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
anyway.
The conclusion.
Yeah.
The conclusion to that interaction with Jesus on retreat is that the thinness of our relationship was one relationship was 100% my responsibility.
Right.
Because he knows this is why I envisioned him as tongue-in-cheek. It's like, did I do something?
He's kind of telling you he didn't.
This is 100% on you, but he's doing it in a way that's relational. And that to me is what was so wooing about it. Because I had been with the principles for the last 25 years. I can communicate the principles with the best. I can years. I can communicate the principles with the best of them. But behind this is a person that just wants my heart again. And so he's doing that in a way to woo me. Like I'm not thinking for a second that, he might have some culpability in the thinness of our relationship right now.
Yeah.
He is never changing. He's always present. He's always good. But the way in which it was communicated. If somebody's got a theological issue with that says more about them than it does the Lord.
That's why I'm highlighting it, is because I want that man who struggles with that to be invited into a deeper relationship, and at the exact same time compromise nothing of what is true, because that's exactly what you did.
Yeah.
You compromise nothing of what is true, but we're brought into a deep intimacy with the Lord because of his humility. I'm nuancing things. I'm nuancing his humility. I'm nuancing things in hopes that people go, oh gosh, I never would have considered Jesus would say such a thing. which you and I would which you and I would you and I would both hear that and go, that's so, you and I would both you and I would both hear that and go, that's so him.
Yeah.
That's so him. Like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the him that. Yeah, that's the him that walked the hills of the region of, Galilee and whatnot. Like, yeah, that's the guy who sat down for long nights and took extra time with Nicodemus.
Right.
That's the guy.
Right. And it's in those subtle little peripheral phrases in the scriptures. Like, I was struck by the woman at the well, and
smacked by the woman at the well.
The woman at the well has this radical encounter with him. She leaves happy after having everything she's ever done be exposed to her. So that's her words. Come see the guy who told me everything I've ever done.
Yeah.
And she's the That's her words. Come see the guy who told me everything I've ever done.
Yeah.
And she's the shameful one in the town.
Yeah.
And the little peripheral phrase is, they asked him to stay longer, and he stayed with them for 2 more days.
Yeah.
In a place he's not really supposed to be, according to the laws of the time.
I never knew that.
He's a Jew. He's in Samaria. And he stays longer. What kind of guy does that? Just because they wanted to spend time with him. Like, that little phrase is so packed with beauty. He's like, Jesus, would you just stay longer? Because we just want to be with you. And he goes, this is the best stuff. Yes. Yeah. 2 extra days. You think, oh, I'll stay for dinner and then I got to get going.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'll linger with you. Like, oh.
Lavish.
It's
and
so
then,
good.
I mean, bring in full.
It's
and
so
then,
good.
I mean.
It's so good.
Lavish.
It's so good.
And then, I mean, bring in full circle, like when you go in a time like you do with prayer ministry, that's the primary role, is to be the physical, and this is a grace, but it's the physical presence of Christ. It's lingering with them over things. It's being like the urge to like physically touch and affirm the men was, I don't know, like it was exploding out of me.
Wow.
That you feel secure and loved and affirmed and delighted in.
Yes.
So it's not a finger on somebody's shoulder. It's like an embrace, and it's not awkward. It's not goofy. Nobody was like, meh.
Yeah.
But it's like everything within you wants to represent what you know to be his personality, his thinking of this individual in that moment. And then from there, words are spoken. But that's the fundamental thing, is to be that presence.
That you're again, there's a fullness of
presence.
There's a fullness of humanity and Jesus there, natural and supernatural. Mm-hmm. And we're bodies. That's why we have sacraments. This is what I love about it, is when you know the truth well enough to make decisions based on it, other than just staying within it. To me, it's the difference between a Pharisee and an apostle. Mm. Pharisees are too afraid to press into radical love that's rooted and grounded in what is true.
Yeah.
So they get upset when they see it. Apostles stand on what is true and then radically love. You can't separate them, truth and love.
Yeah. Like even that statement is evidence of this little conversion that I give God praise for. When you say the word truth, I know what my mind would have thought even days ago, which is like even that statement is evidence of this little mind would have thought even days ago, which is catechism, principles, and whatnot. You say the word truth, I see a face and a name and a personality. And it's not to say that one was bad, but it's like, no, like everything that is theologically valuable is in reference to him. Otherwise, there's no value because he is the truth.
Amen.
He is the way, he is the life. He is truth, goodness, and beauty. Everything is a reflection of him.
Yeah, Pope Benedict saying, Christianity is not the result of an ethical choice or lofty idea. It's an encounter with a person.
Yeah. But it's like, that to me it's reminiscent of my first conversion. And that was like with no formation at all, like nothing.
Right.
But now it's like, there's 25 years of pretty committed study and all the rest of it. Like when it's almost like when I think it was Aquinas that said basically like, was it Thomas Aquinas? He was on his deathbed and people were, commenting on, oh, you're so ready to die. And, you've contributed so much to the volume of the church and theological understanding. He just said, that's rubbish.
Yeah.
All of that stuff I've done is
straw.
Compared to, Christ himself and knowing him and all the rest of it. That's kind of how I feel. So when I say that's all rubbish, I know how much rubbish there is now because I've had 25 years of it. But it's like, I don't know. It's speaking the truth with, there's just more to it. So huge grace. Yeah, there's just more to it. So huge grace.
Yeah, that's there's an idea that I want. Yeah, that's there's an idea that there's. Yeah, there's an idea that I. Yeah, there's an idea.
What is that? Exclamation point that I'm aiming at?
Yeah. There's an idea that I want to introduce because it's something I didn't.
You're a Detroit sports fan, yeah? I've gotten almost all of my Lions picks correct this year. Oh, thank you. That's my headshot. I see. That's what I thought you were saying. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I think I've abstained a couple of weeks, but every time I've bet for the Lions to cover the spread or against the Lions to cover the spread, I've been correct this year. And I'm with them this week. I think they're 3.5-point favorites away, which is tough, but I will be rooting for your team this week.
Share on the retreat. Because share on the retreat. Because I think it's hard. It would be hard. It would take it's hard. It would be hard. It would take a lot. Because I think it would take a.
Yeah, I don't typically pick favorites on the road.
I think it would take a lot of.
But I listen to these professional gambler podcasts, and they're on them this week, so I'm too.
Because I think it would take a lot of pastoring. But you said something where you think it would take a lot of pastoring. But you said something where you said strongholds were broken. And you kept seeing that over and over and over again. One of the prayers that I started to pray probably the week of the retreat that just moved me deeply was I do have some consistent vocal prayer that I do every night. And I use an app called the Exorcism app. And it's from St. Michael's Center or something like
It's an intense prayer app. Hold on, I'll look at my
that every
pencils.
night. And I use an app.
Dude, he's so great, man. We just love him. We just love him.
Night. I use it.
Like, obviously he's playing well, but just like how he's embraced the city, how he's embraced the town, his teammates. I mean, we're hearing all these stories about like the quarterback room and how it could have been awkward with Davis Mills, but it's not, and how Case Keenum's been helping him out, and he's been helping Case, and just like cool, calm under pressure. Like what he did this weekend, like not just the 470 yards, but like the way that, like as a Texans fan, and I don't know, I would imagine it's pretty similar for a Lions fan. You just know that like if they score on us and we have to score a touchdown, they score on us with 40 seconds left, the game's over. The game has historically been over for the Texans since, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. It's just nice to know that he just steps up in those big moments too. I love him, man. Our team's really exciting this year. I feel like where we are right now is where like the Lions were like a season or two ago, where it's like you have like this young core and you know they're going to be good in a couple of years, and like now y'all are reaping the benefits of that, you know. And hopefully for the next few years, like I feel like we're in the same boat, just a year or two behind because of everything that happened with Deshaun and Bill O'Brien, all that stuff. So I'm just glad all that's gone, and they're just fun. Like I still thought we'd have a losing season, which like we still might, but like we're 4-4 now, and like it's just so cool to see my team in the like we're in the playoff hunt. You know, I think we're like right outside of it right now, but we're like the second or third team like out of the playoffs. Like I just didn't think we'd be there this quickly. The young core is just fun. It's not just him. We have a bunch of great rookies. We're playing. We've had more rookies take snaps than every team except for Seattle, which has been fun. All right, here's my biggest bets for the week. I'm in a contest where I pick 5 against the spread a week, and I'm doing really good. That's awesome, man. A home playoff game in that stadium would be special. I mean, especially after the years and years of not being great. Like y'all's fan base is fun, and like I hope that y'all can keep the home game because y'all deserve it, man. After years of struggle, you know, it'd just be fun. I've got Colts -1.5, Carolina +3.5, Jags +3. I think they're going to win outright. Titans +1, and Saints -2.5. See if any of the lines have changed, because I can change them in my. They have not. I just did it last night. So, yeah, that's awesome. I rooted for the Pistons team, the Chauncey Billups team that won. I was rooting for them. I liked them a lot. I liked Rashid and Ben Wallace and Chauncey and Rip Hamilton. I had to do like the face thing, the face cover to remember. I loved that team.
I use an app called the Exorcism app, and it's from St. Michael's Center or something like that, I think. And in there, there's a section for the laity. And anyway, I try to do some deliverance prayers. One of the ones they just recently added, which became, I try to do some deliverance prayers. One of the ones they just deliverance prayers. One of the ones they just recently added, which became very strong in my preparation.
Yeah, I don't know much about I'm not a hockey fan, so like I just don't know much about the Red Wings. But the Pistons, I know that y'all have Cade Cunningham, right? That rookie that y'all. I don't think I could tell you another player on the team. You know, another team like that mirrors Houston. Our core is just really young. I don't really like our core, to be honest. I hate that they brought in Dylan Brooks. I hate Dylan Brooks so much. I hate that he's on our roster for a 4-year contract. He annoys the crap out of me. Jalen Green's fine, but I don't know. I'm not really happy with the direction the Rockets have been going recently. Obviously, the Astros are historically good. The Texans have been very bad recently, but are fun now. Baseball's been the only thing keeping us up. I mean, we've just been so bad at basketball and football for so long that Yeah, but it is nice that Texans are there, and we don't have a Jaden Ivey. It sounds like that is Will Smith's kid and Jay-Z's kid. Is that right? Jaden, I know, is Will Smith's. I think Ivy, I think, is Jay-Z's kid. That's funny that it's those two names. Never heard of him.
Deliverance prayers. One of the ones they just recently added, which became very strong in my preparation for the retreat, was a prayer to break Satan's yoke. So I was praying that a lot before the retreat, and a strong.
It's funny. I had a blue Tigers hat, which is, I know it's not the main colors, but I wore it a lot because I loved, now we're going back even further, Miguel Cabrera and Justin Verlander. And obviously I love Verlander now, but I liked that team too. I guess for whatever reason, because y'all were, when I was growing up, y'all were in completely different conferences. So it was like safe to root for other teams. For whatever reason, I don't think I ever put it together that I rooted for two Detroit teams. Because I rooted for that baseball team and then the Detroit Pistons team that was good. Oh, yeah, he asked you. You know, the World Series. Well, I guess I shouldn't say he has to. He had such a great career with the Tigers, but I think he does. You know, it's been a while since he was a Tiger. He's been so dominant with the Astros. He should retire a Met for his 2-month stint.
And a stronghold is an example of Satan's yoke. And so when you compare the yokes, Jesus's yoke is easy and light.
I want to see Verlander's stats. Let's look. Let's see if they even have this. She was there for so long. I don't know if they'll do totals by team. I guess I can just kind of look and see Oh, here we go. What just happened? No, go back to the main things. Here we go. I mean, he was there for 11 years. I don't know. Maybe it's closer than I thought. I love how he was Rookie of the Year and clearly not his rookie season. I love how baseball does its own thing. Yeah, I guess I didn't realize the disparity of... I don't know, man. It could be close. Oh, here it is. It does do it, but I mean, look at that. But this is crazy. The fact that he's older. I mean, when did he come to us? 34? Look at this. Like, that's an incredible ERA. And then he comes here and does this. Unreal. Why don't I see, like, his accolades? Am I blind? Oh, here it is. MVP. Is that the year he won, like, the pitching Triple Crown? Oh, yeah, there it is. I guess it's the same year. Cy Young. How many Cy Youngs did he win? Cy Young winner. So he won 2 with Houston. And one, I mean, but dude, just the amount of games that he pitched here. That's a great question. Great question. That was fun. He won 2 as an Astro and 1 as a Tiger. I think is what I saw. Oh no. Cy Young MVP same year, Rookie of the Year, the Tigers. Cy Young, Astros, Cy Young, Astros. Dude, this is crazy. He's in his upper 30s, and he's like better than ever. He had a 1.75 ERA for a season. Unbelievable. So he made a World Series with the Tigers but didn't win? I remember rooting for them in a World Series. Yeah, so I was in high school. Yeah, I remember. For some reason in my head, and that's probably the reason, for some reason in my head I thought they won, but I hated the Cardinals because they were in our division. Probably another reason why I was rooting for them.
And life-giving, Satan's yoke burdens. And Isaiah talks about the Savior will break the yokes on their backs.
Mm.
And so there's the scriptural connotation to slavery and an instrument placed on you to crush you versus an instrument placed on you to save you.
Yeah.
And what you're describing was exactly my prayer, that the men would have the yoke of anything other than Jesus broken.
Mm.
So to hear that is just moving to me, because I didn't say anything. That never came out on the weekend, but it was a desire of my heart.
Yeah.
I don't think that would have been pastorally wise to talk about that on the desire of my heart.
Yeah.
That would.
He was, unless he was hurt. He was on the team. Second in Cy Young. So unless he was hurt in the playoffs, he would have been on that team. So they made it twice in 6 years. I don't think I remembered that. I remembered rooting for them in a World Series. It might have been this one. I don't think I remember that they were in it twice.
That would have.
I don't want to talk about getting swept in a World Series. Astros did that in our first one ever. And it
was a desire.
Very sad. I was in high school, I think, that year too. Maybe junior high. 2004. I was in high school. I remember watching it while playing poker at my friend's house.
My heart. I don't think that would have been pastorally wise to talk about that on the weekend. It's too confusing. Yeah. It would have activated too much emotionalism and various things.
Too soon from my high school.
Yeah.
But I'm just delighting that that's what was happening. Because that was part of my desire. Strongholds be broken. False yokes be broken. And I think as men, we live under so many false yokes, or yokes that are not of Jesus, that are heavy, heavy, heavy. So that's a new grace for me to hear that was your experience in prayer ministry, is that guys were having yokes or strongholds be broken.
Yeah. One of the things that struck me with the yoke theme,
be broken. Yeah.
One of the things.
My pizza's gone. I is sad.
Broken.
One of the things that.
Be broken.
One of the things.
What's funny is I'm focused on this and I can see the chat, right? And I'm doing this edit and all I can see out of the corner of my eye is Al Sharpton. I'm like, what? I have no context. Let's see what you said. Oh, you just saw him. I figured he would have been saying something or throwing out a pitch or doing an opening prayer or something. That's funny.
Strongholds be broken.
One of the things that struck me with
I did a mission trip in Detroit, I don't know, probably 5, 6, 7 years ago. And I was so surprised. I was just talking about this a few weeks ago. I was so surprised that I looked out over the water and was looking south, and Canada was there. Just as a Texan, that's Mexico for us. And Canada has always been so up for me that it was weird. I was like, I didn't believe him at first. I had to like look it up on a map. Can't believe that Detroit is north of Canada.
one of the things that struck me with the yoke theme was like,
I shouldn't be. I think my joke was I shouldn't be able to look down on Canada physically, only metaphorically.
Was because I mean, again, this is one of those yoke theme. Again, this is one of those things. How many talks have I done on the yoke and the back and the front? You know, all these, and it's just at a level of principle. But what God just reminded me is that I've gotten to a place now where I've got.
So you've lived there your whole life, it seems, if you were a fan from all that while ago.
Is that I've gotten to a place now where, like, you don't want to be ahead of the Lord, you don't want to be behind the Lord, and I've forgotten that He's actually right beside me.
Oh, amen.
Like, I'm not living out principles or habits or what I should.
That's how I've been with Houston, is most of my life in or around Houston.
Should do and ought to do, even though all those things are good and all the rest of it. But it's,
I left for a total of 5 years, 4 for college, or 5 for college, I guess. 4 for one and 1 for grad school.
It's like He's right there.
Right.
Like he's right there. He's proximate. He's in this with you. You're not living a principled life and discipline and all that, and yet He's by Himself. It's not like He put the yoke on and said, "Have at her."
Right.
He put it on after He put it on Himself.
Yes.
Right there.
I'm right with you. Yeah.
But Satan's yoke is
military brat.
It's just But Satan's yoke.
Yeah.
But Satan's yoke. But Satan's yoke is just you feel alone. You feel isolated. You feel all of this, right?
And the messaging around it is, you're not doing it good enough.
All of this, right? So that was right. So that was a powerful image.
And the messaging around it is, you're not doing it good enough. You're failing. Yeah. If you do better, you might get what you really want. Well, you better finish this, otherwise you're not worth anything. And all those narratives that men just get radically impacted by, me included. And they're brutal. And what's amazing is that for you, the principles and the virtue help to facilitate the intimacy. And so it's not, I don't need the principles and virtue. It's, what is their point?
Yeah.
Like Jesus says, depart from me. I never knew you. And they go, what are you talking about? We did all of this stuff in your name. And He goes, I know, but I never knew you.
Yeah.
That's freaky.
Yeah, that's terrifying. One of the scariest Bible verses.
Yeah.
That's freaky. That's scary. Because He's making a massive priority statement. You can do all the right stuff and still not be in relationship. And He says that is a scary consequence. Is probably not the right word. Inheritance. That's a scary inheritance.
Yeah.
But I did all this stuff for you, but I didn't know you. We didn't have a relationship in it. You missed the entire point of it. Like,
Yep.
Yeah. It reminded me of a story I shared on the retreat where I was talking about you missed the entire point of it. Like, oh.
Yep.
Yeah. It reminded me of a story I shared on it reminded me of a story I shared on the retreat where I was talking about Pete and I crossing the border to go fishing. And I was obsessed with the line, with us not getting across quick enough, people cutting in front in the cars, me just anxious because it wasn't going the way I thought. And then Pete looks over at me and goes, Jake, I thought the point was for us to be together. And I'm sitting there not paying attention to him in the truck because it's not going the way that I think it should go in front of me. I mean, there's a parallel there.
Yeah.
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 Anyway.
Well, even just going back to yoke, it's like putting so much emphasis on not being in front and not being behind.
Truck, because it's not going the way that I think it should go in front of me. I mean, there's a parallel there.
Yeah.
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 Anyway.
Well, even just going back to yoke.
Yeah.
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 Anyway.
Well, even just going back. Yeah. Well, even just going. Yeah. Well, even just going back to yoke, it's like putting so much emphasis on not like. It's like putting so much emphasis on not being in front and not being behind and forgetting it's about being with, right beside you. Yeah. You know, it seems obvious,
right?
But yeah. Anyways, so many.
Yeah, I could. I actually end up taking more out because active listening is annoying in podcasting.
Graces.
It is.
Seems obvious,
right?
But yeah,
right.
But yeah. Anyways, so many graces,
right?
But
Peter, you're back.
It's obvious,
right?
Anyways, so many graces.
It is.
This went places maybe we didn't think.
What would be really fun is pulling up one of Peter's appearances on the show and making him say funny things.
So many graces.
It is.
This went places maybe we didn't think, but we probably got to wrap it up, no?
Yeah, we do. Final thoughts? Yeah, we do. Final thoughts?
The other thing, I guess, there's one more thing. The whole Kairos. The other thing, I guess. The other thing, I guess, there's
final thoughts.
The other thing, I guess, there's one more thing. The whole Kairos Chronos thing, and again, how many times do I talk about these things? Yeah. But just the way it was presented, the way that my heart was, I don't know, ready. That whole piece, yeah. Kairos and meaning. Sorry, that's taking it somewhere else. We don't want to go there. There were so many graces.
Yeah, just very simply so people can understand, that was the talk where worship and work were brought together.
The one drawback about doing that is that, originally he was on one audio file and I was on an audio file. But now if I did it, I'd have to download it from YouTube or the podcast or whatever, and I'd be on the thing. But we can play together. I'll do it after I'm done with this. I'm almost done.
And how Kronos is this Greek god that is ruthless and devours time and has no respect for the sacred. And Kairos is something that tries to connect to the transcendent in each moment, where life becomes intentional, consecrated time instead of wasted, devouring time. That was kind of so people can get a sense of what the heck was that about and maybe go. becomes intentional, consecrated time instead of wasted, devouring time. That was kind of devouring time.
Yeah.
That was kind of so people can get a sense of what the heck was that about and maybe go reflect on that on their own. But yeah, I think the part that I just want to that on their own, but the part that I just want to land with our listeners is Jesus is the point. He is the way. There's no better way than him. It's always worth it with him. And even if you barely feel like you're making a step in a particular direction, it's the right direction. He loves you more than you could ever imagine and consider. And Satan's doing a whole lot to try to create problems in that dynamic, but it's worth it.
I could also make rap songs out of Peter's audio drops for his channel. That'd be fun too. I've done that for other channels.
And it's good and it's wonderful. And I would say retreats are something that are really important on the journey because they give you space and help you prioritize and bond and commune and are kind of, like I mentioned on the retreat, supposed to be somewhat normal. But unfortunately, we don't operate in that way. So, listeners, we hope this episode blessed you. And we want to encourage.
You did what? You redeemed a sick beat? I don't even know how you did that or what that means.
You to spend time with Jesus because he's the way, and let's keep living the way of the heart. We want to encourage you.
Let's boost this.
This episode blessed you, and we want to encourage. We hope this episode blessed you. We want. Listeners, we hope this episode blessed you. We want to encourage you to spend time with Jesus because he's the way, and let's keep living the way of the heart.
Yeah, so like that's how we recorded originally, Peter. I just delete them after after the show goes out, and I know it all worked.
Of the heart.
But I'm about to pull up your last episode with me, and we're gonna have some fun because this show is completed. Let's put this in the correct folder. This is Way of the Heart. Yeshua Retreat. Guys, I just finished a podcast like a week early. Look at me go. And make them mine. Set up high. All right, let's go to here and here and make them mine. Yeah, man. I usually do those the day before. I just have to post it. I'll do that when we get off. Thank you, sir. It is funny how long this took just because, we were chatting. All right, let's see. When's the last time Peter was on? 3:11. This is when you... What's up, my friends, and welcome into the... Hello. All right. This needs to be hard limited. 2, 3 decibels. Save that. And make them mine. Oh my gosh, what's going on Instagram? Oh, we got tagged in another show that I was on. I was on The Cordial Catholic this week. Okay, let's make Peter say funny things. Adobe Audition. I was like, why is my OBS recording? That's usually when I'm recording the show. Totally forgot. Peter. Pay to please. It's in a different sample rate. Wait, what? I thought that's what I did. No, it's 48. That's what I thought. That's strange. There we go. All right, let's make Peter say funny stuff. He didn't say funny things live, so we have to make him zing. Peter Schmidt's joining me. Hello.
I like to give context first. So 4 years ago, 2017, I was watching a lot of Who's Line clips. I like to give context first. So 4 years ago, 2017. So 4 years. 4 years.
Year of our Lord, 2022.
4 years and change. 5 years.
It's almost over.
But yeah, we're getting 4 years and 10 months ago.
4 score and 7 years ago.
Yeah, so I was watching a lot of Who's Line, and I enjoy Who's Line. I think it's very good humor.
That's why it's my favorite show of all time.
But regardless, what my question was is, I like to give context first. So, but regardless, what
said keep the jersey, and he paid.
Production. I do have a Patreon.
Those DMs and wish him a happy birthday. Oh, this is my favorite. Ave Maria, incredibly. Okay, cool.
No.
So you kept, for those not watching on the video, you kept trying to interject. You're just like, there's no point.
Yeah. Well,
but back to Forte Catholic. And I mentioned earlier that Peter is incredibly single. I didn't say it earlier, but we talked about his gorgeous hair. And he has locks. So he is Catholic, has hair, and is single. So ladies, not anymore. Connect with him on twitch.tv/PTony. And, slide in those DMs and wish him a happy birthday a week early, So, and no, nothing you want to say to that? Okay, cool.
No.
So, early, So, and no, nothing you want to slide in those DMs. Those not watching on the video, you kept trying to interject.
Yeah, that's me. It's great. Thank you for fighting it.
So it's not working in real life, so let's go on Friday evenings to play Game of Favorites or whatever day you're playing. Wait. It's 2 truths and a lie for both of us. Leg now. I'm semi-Catholic, don't have any hair, and I'm married. So I guess it's 2 lies and a truth. Did I get that wrong? I think I wanted it to be true so bad. Yeah, there you go. Internet. I'll meet people who live.
Or maybe
do I call you poor? That's what I want.
So,
I mean, I think. It's about to be. You're a good-looking.
Yes.
And that is like you and anyone else. You're poor, and you would like to talk about that. Here we go. Is that you're poor, and you would like to talk about that poverty. So, I mean, something new and different is that you're poor. That you're poor. You're poor. You're poor, and you would like to talk about that poverty. So, I mean, ladies, if there's a sugar mom out there, then this is the man for you. Because here's our segment. You wanted to talk about poverty, so let's talk about poverty.
Wow, what an introduction! I do have a Patreon. Okay, never. Let's see. I do have a Patreon. If
all right, I'm getting pieces. This is gonna be fun. You're poor, and you would like to talk about that poverty. So, I mean, I
like to give context first. So So I do have a Patreon. Okay, never. Let's see. No, this is. It is interesting to think about poverty since I'm very much living hand to mouth. But also like, I don't know. Like,
that's a good clip.
Patreon.
And for you,
I like to give context first. So I do have a Patreon.
I'm dying. Oh man.
Be a section about me. That's what the last one was about. I don't know. Like, this wasn't supposed to be a section about me. That's what the last one was about. I don't know. Like, this wasn't supposed to be a section about me.
Wait, what is this? I don't like that. Wait, where'd it go?
I don't know. Like, this wasn't supposed to be a section.
There are going to be, quotes. I've been in this scenario. Health, like for my health, you see all the time that like
it's about the proper speed to listen to podcasts at. And I just want to weigh in.
Thanks for joining us.
That's.
You're kicked off the show.
That's.
You're kicked off.
That's.
Say it. This is fun. I like this game.
Me. That's.
You're kicked off the show. I'm Taylor. I'll be Peter's last appearance on Forte Catholic. Here we go. You're poor, and you would like to talk about that poverty. So, I mean, ladies, if there's a sugar mom out there, then this is the man for you.
I like to give context first. So I do have a Patreon. I don't know. Like, this wasn't supposed to be a section about me. That's.
You're kicked off the show. I'm Taylor. I'll be back next week. Peter, thanks for joining us. Adios. Say it. I love it. It's a great podcast. It's a great podcast. It's a good approach. I like that.
As a working definition, give the excess out, and that I've been contrary to.
I think there's the things that, now anytime. Yeah. So you were on the show for an hour and we got it down to a few seconds. All right, there you go. It's a podcast. We did it. Shortest, but not the worst. You're poor, and you would like to talk about that poverty. So, I mean, ladies, if there's a sugar mom out there, then this is the man for you.
I like to give context first. So I do have a Patreon. I don't know. Like, this wasn't supposed to be a section about me. That's.
You're kicked off the show. I'm Taylor. I'll be back next week. Peter, thanks for joining us. Adios. Say it. Peter, that's getting played next Friday. I'm leaving that on the desktop. It's going right there. You're poor. Oh man. That was great. That was fun. I'm going to get a drink. I laughed too hard. what's crazy, Peter, is how easy that was. It literally took no time. That was awesome. You mean you'd fight me about playing that clip, or physically fight me? Because I don't think either will work for you. Okay, I'll do another show. It's called fear, Peter. Totally understandable. Venere morte nui. Anyone who loves is born of God. Jesus Christ is God. Oh, he is love. May the Lord protect and defend you. May he always keep you from pain. Yep, that's how you sound. I think you, yeah. It's funny. I was reading your messages in order. I think it's me. I do think I make you nervous. It's entertaining. I might be I wouldn't say my worst version of myself, because I can be really bad. I think I'm my worst version of my good self anytime Peter is around. I don't intimidate my guests, just you. You think my other co-hosts are intimidated by me? Yeah, just Peter. What was I gonna do? Y'all are throwing me off. This is funny. Okay. I got the Taylor special in. Never mind. I'm not gonna sing that. Heresies. Let's talk about heresies, baby. Let's talk about filioque. Let's talk about the triune God. On the hotline. This is going. Okay. I guess wrong again. It's okay, I can do intro. My goodness, it was wrong for both of them. Very strange. Very strange. What? There it is. May the Lord protect and defend you. Dude, I can't see what that is. Oh, wait. Can I do this? Calm down. Oh, okay, I will.
We will clarify the mainstream consensus of what was handed down.
Lamestream media. A little preview of my denoise isn't working. I'm having to make educated guesses.
majority in any given age. But it's not that the mainstream is orthodox because it's the majority. The mainstream is the
Might need to go turn off the air conditioner in a second so I can hear this last little white noise, or if I got it correct. I think I guessed it right in the last one.
I'm going to begin my tenure as the host of this podcast. Well, now we've gotten to the point where I need to.
All right, let's turn off the air conditioner so I can see if there's white noise left. There's like 1 or 2% left. 5% left.
Welcome. Deviate from what was received and teach something else. To be a heretic doesn't simply mean being wrong.
Your mom's a heretic.
Welcome to the way. Welcome to The Way of the Fathers, a production of Catholic culture.
He needs a boost. Let's boost to there.
Welcome to The Way of the Fathers, a production of CatholicCulture.org. I'm Jim Papandrea, author and professor of church history and historical theology, and I'm honored to have been asked to pick up the baton on this podcast from my dear friend and colleague and co-author, Mike Aquilina. I expect that, just as Roger Moore could never quite replace Sean Connery, I can never quite fill the shoes of that master storyteller, Mike Aquilina. But I do hope and pray that I will bring my own unique perspective to the role. Specifically, I am also a Catholic. Specifically, I am also a Catholic layperson, but in my day job, I teach in a Protestant.
It's funny. I didn't hear it.
Org. I'm Jim Papandrea.
I didn't hear it like that. That's so funny.
Catholic layperson, but in my day job, I teach in a Protestant seminary.
Wouldn't it be so funny if, he had like multiple personalities and was just so calm about it? Hi, I'm John, Susan, and Tony. It just like did a whole coherent podcast.
So I am what you might call ecumenically bilingual. And that is
Exactly.
specifically because the time period I specialize in, the early church, is the inheritance of all Christians. It is our common background. It is the very thing that all Christians have in common. The trunk of the family tree, if you will. And it belongs to all of us. And in fact, there is something here for everyone in the history of early Christianity, no matter what your
what you've just done is I'm going to think about that every time. This is the first thing I'm editing of his. I'm going to think about it every single time. You've broken me.
Religious faith is, or your level of engagement with religion. So I want to thank you for joining me on what Mike has called a podcast pilgrimage. I like that. And in fact, I like that. I like that.
Look at you, Peter, just making a difference in my life.
I like that. And in fact, I like to think that all of life itself is a pilgrimage. And no pilgrimage is possible without the guidance of people who have gone before us. And that's who the fathers are, the fathers of the church. And there are mothers too. These are the ones who have handed the faith on from teacher to student, master to apprentice in each generation. I'm going to begin my tenure as the host of this podcast with a series on the heresies. This will be a 14-episode series, that is if you count this introductory episode. In these episodes, we will explore the teachings of the Church Fathers as they corrected those who had gone astray. So we will not only learn what went wrong in the teachings of the ancient heresies, but we will clarify the mainstream consensus of what was handed down as the historic faith in each generation, in opposition to the mistakes that some made, and some still make, since there is virtually nothing new under the sun, and all of the ancient heresies have their modern But before we can get into the parts, heresies have their modern counterparts. But before we can get into the topic, I need to define some terms. What do we mean when we say something is a heresy? Heresy is a Greek word that means something like going off on a tangent, or going off track, veering off the straight and narrow, so to speak, and crossing a line to become something other than the mainstream. And yes, there was a mainstream. And yes,
gonna post to the socials real quick.
there was a mainstream church, even in the early days. The mainstream of the church is that which most faithfully received what the previous generation of the mainstream had handed down to them, going all the way back to the apostles and coming from Jesus himself. We call this unbroken chain of discipleship apostolic succession. And so, what I am calling the mainstream of the church is where the correct doctrine is found. If heresy is that which deviates from the mainstream, then orthodoxy is that which is correct, precisely because it maintains the tradition. And by the way, orthodoxy is also a Greek word, or compound word. Literally, it means correct praise, but we use it to mean correct doctrine, correct teaching. Now, the main teaching. Now, the mainstream of the church happens to be the majority in any given age. But it's not that the mainstream is orthodox because it's the majority. The mainstream is the majority because it is orthodox. Most people simply stick with what most of the bishops are teaching, which is what they had received from the bishops of the previous generation. To be a heretic of the previous generation. To be a heretic means to deviate from what was received and teach something else. To be a heretic doesn't simply mean being wrong about something. We're all wrong about something. To be a heretic means to teach something that is mutually exclusive with the tradition that you received from your teachers. And people did that. And they were confronted by their teachers. And when they were confronted, if they refused to get back on track, if they refused to teach what they had received and insisted on teaching something else, and when they gathered followers and led them away from the mainstream, then they were declared to be heretics. Then they were declared to be heretics, and what they taught is heresy. Now, you might ask why it matters. Why couldn't the church just let everyone believe whatever they want? And I will be answering this question all along the way. But for now, in short, there are things that are true and things that are not true, especially about God. The things that are true will lead us closer to God. The things that are not true lead us away from God because they propose to us a different God, one who does not exist. So for the early Christians, souls are at stake. Well,
Burning on them.
Now we've gotten to the point where I need to dispel a common myth. I recently read an article where the author made a reference to a time before the so-called victory of orthodoxy, as if there was a time when orthodoxy itself didn't yet exist. Now, this author was a good enough historian to nuance his statement by saying orthodoxy as it is today. But that's the point, isn't it? The orthodoxy of today, in order to be orthodoxy, has to be consistent with the
Hello, Britt. Hope you're enjoying work. Nice to see you.
orthodoxy of the tradition.
I feel like you added, what are those things called? The little line at the bottom? I feel like you added one. I think it used to be only one. Am I crazy?
But the common myth, not
backslash. What are those things called? Underscore. I think that's it.
But the common myth is that orthodoxy came late to the party, and that before that there was a variety of alternatives, all supposedly equally valid. Well, that's not really how it worked in the history of our Christian faith. There was never a time without orthodoxy. Each generation has its orthodoxy, and each generation's orthodoxy is built on the foundation of the previous generation's orthodoxy.
So I'm wrong, but not crazy. That makes me feel better.
So doctrine does develop over time, but only in the sense of being clarified, never in the sense of changing from one thing into something else. So there is no such thing. So there is no such thing as a time before orthodoxy, and there is no such thing as proto-orthodoxy or pre-orthodoxy. There is an orthodoxy in every generation, because orthodoxy is precisely that which was handed down from the previous generation. And we can...
I guess it's just been so long since I've been on Twitch that I just assumed it was the
previous generation. And we can see in the writings of the Church Fathers that they know what orthodoxy is in their time, and they know what deviates from orthodoxy to the extent that it crosses the line into heresy. You see, the history of doctrine is... You see, the history of doctrine is nothing other than the history of interpretation. In other words, doctrine is a clarification of the correct interpretation, not only of Scripture, but of the very incarnation itself and the person of Jesus. Jesus himself asked this question, "Who do you say?"
There's a helicopter over my house. It's not normal. We have planes, but not helicopters. Very strange.
That I am. And the history of doctrine is the history.
I'm doing well. Thanks for listening to the show. Yeah, I thought that was funny. I told that story to somebody. Because I told the story because somebody else was in that same boat. That they thought they were the same person too. Like, so it happened twice in a week. That was really interesting. Yeah, I'm good. A little tired. I think I'm battling off a cold. Like, I haven't gotten it, but my whole family has. But I think I have like some minor symptoms. So just tired. How are you?
And the history.
You still working at a school?
History of doctrine is the history of the church answering that question. And especially in the early church, each generation builds on the tradition.
I'll be right back. Oh, cool. Yeah, I knew the last time we were, that I was active on Twitch, and you were moving around through teaching jobs. I'm glad you found something that works for you. Sorry things have been rough, but I'm glad you have spiritual direction. That's good. I think I saw you tweet about it the other day. I think I liked one of your tweets along those lines.
In a way that fleshes it out and clarifies it. In fact, there are three.
What are you doing at the diocese?
There are three observations we can make. I call these three observations my 3 laws of the development of doctrine. It's kind of an homage to the 3 laws of robotics from science fiction, but they're not really laws. They are 3 observations about how the development of doctrine always works throughout history. Law 1 is that heresy forces orthodoxy to define itself. In other words, orthodoxy comes first because it begins with Jesus and then is handed down from the apostles. But often it's just taught from teacher. But often it's just taught from teacher to student in an
Good to see you. Bye.
oral tradition, and it's not written down until there is some challenge to it. So there is a sense in which a lack of controversy is evidence of consensus. But then an alternative interpretation is offered and a debate begins. And that debate ends with a clarification of the doctrine in question. And that clarification is specifically written to exclude whatever is not consistent with the tradition. In other words, orthodoxy is clarified to rule out the heresy that opposes it. Now, law number two is that orthodoxy is the middle way between the extreme alternatives. It is simply an observable fact of history that the heresies are on the extremes. Because every heresy is, in some way, that the heresies are on the extremes. Because every heresy is, in some way, pushing the boundaries of belief and going off on a tangent. Or another way to say this is that all heresy focuses on one thing and emphasizes it to the exclusion of something else. Let me give you an example. The teaching handed down from the apostles, the teaching of the mainstream church and the majority of the bishops, was always that Jesus Christ has two natures, a divine nature and a human nature. But the challenges to this teaching, the alternatives, all either emphasized his humanity so much that they diminished or denied his divinity, or they emphasized his divinity so much that they diminished or denied his humanity. Now, I don't want to give away too much of the good stuff before we really start, but the point is that the teaching received from the apostles ruled out any conception of Christ that was not fully divine, and it also ruled out any conception of Christ that was not fully human. And we can see a kind of
Found some more white noise. This song's gonna get stuck inside your head.
And we can see a kind of pendulum effect as one preacher or teacher pushes the boundaries to one extreme, and the mainstream bishops and other theologians have to correct that, clarifying the doctrine to pull it back within the boundaries. But then someone inevitably reacts so strongly to the heresy of one extreme that they overreact and overcorrect and go to the other extreme. And again, the mainstream church fathers have to clarify the doctrine to bring it back to that place of balance in the middle, not as a compromise, but to go with the pendulum analogy, that place where gravity brings the pendulum to the middle. It's the refusal to It's the refusal to accept an either-or answer, and the conviction that the right answer is the both-and answer, even if that means living with some measure of paradox. Jesus Christ is fully human and fully divine, not simply one or the other. So, Law 1 is that heresy forces orthodoxy to define itself. Law 2 is that orthodoxy is the middle way between the extreme alternatives. And Law 3 is that Christology informs soteriology. This means that whatever you decide to believe about Christ, Christology, will determine what you believe about salvation, soteriology. What you believe about the Savior, what you believe about the Savior determines what you will believe about how salvation works. Or vice versa. If you start with a particular soteriology or theory of atonement, you will necessarily back into a particular Christology. And the point is that these are interdependent. Well, that's enough in general. Well, that's enough introduction for now. As we anticipate getting into the specifics of each heresy, here's what you can look forward to, what I will talk about in each episode. In general, we're going to be looking at the heresies chronologically. We're going to be looking at the heresies chronologically. In general, each heresy they come up as a reaction to something, like in my pendulum example. So we can take them in turn and track through the history of the early church. In fact, the first ones we will talk about can already be seen, at least hinted at, in the New Testament. Once I set the stage by putting the heresy into the timeline, I will explain what the heresy is. What were the particular heretics teaching? I will tell you who the teachers were, if we know, and when they lived, and what they thought they were responding to, or what their motivation was for teaching this particular heresy. Because we do have to give particular heresy. Because we do have to give the heretics at least some credit. It's not as though they were trying to destroy the church. For the most part, they sincerely thought they were right. And it's important to notice that heresy is always a problem within the church. If it were outside of the church, it would be just another religion. And some of the heresies did evolve into completely separate religions. But heresy begins within the church, promoted by apparently sincere believers who believed that they had discovered a better teaching than what they had received. They thought that they had interpreted the person of Christ and the scriptures in a way that was more correct than their teachers. And they thought that they were saving souls. But they were in the minority, because most people thought that they were leading souls away from salvation. So then we'll talk about what's at salvation. So then we'll talk about what's at stake. Why is the particular heresy problematic? Why is it more than just a matter of opinion? And why did it need to be addressed? What are the implications of this heresy? In other words, what would it mean if the heretics were right and the mainstream was wrong? Then I'll talk about the church fathers who opposed the heresy in question. We'll look at who they were and when they lived, and through their response to the heresy, we will see what was wrong. Then I'll talk about the church fathers who opposed the heresy in question. We'll look at who they were and when they lived, and through their response to the heresy, we will see the mainstream teaching. We will talk about orthodoxy by contrast with the heresy. And as I mentioned, that's really how orthodoxy gets clarified over time, in response to the heretics. Finally, whenever possible, I will mention the modern versions of the ancient heresies. How is this particular heresy still around? Not as a judgment of anyone's faith or any particular groups that exist today, but simply to point out that the groups which may be seen as existing on the fringes of the church today What they believe is not new, and there were versions of the same beliefs on the fringes of the church in the early centuries as well. So that's my introduction to our series on the heresies. Next time on The Way of the Fathers, we will get into our first heresy, the Ebionites. Thanks for listening.
Way of the Fathers is a production of CatholicCulture.org.
The early church is the inheritance.
Mm-mm.